Hey, sweetie, what are you drinking?
Almond milk?
Why, are you lactose intolerant?
What's that?
That's when people get diarrhea and belly pain when they can't digest regular milk. Is that what you have?
No, I drink almond milk because Mommy says it's healthy for me.
I don't think she knows what she's talking about. Come with me. Hi there, I'm cardiologist Dr. Rossi Wickramasinghe, and welcome to this week's episode of Ask Dr. Rossi. This week, I'm going to talk about different types of plant milks, since this seems to be a popular trend these days. Everyone seems to be on some sort of health kick trying to get out of drinking regular cow's milk and adopting a different type of plant milk substitute like soy milk or almond milk. So I spent the better half of last week delving into papers published in the leading scientific and medical journals to see exactly what are the pros and cons of drinking these types of milks. Are they all the same? And is one type of milk better suited for one group of people over another? Let's have a look. You know, it always struck me that drinking cow's milk was a little unnatural. I mean, nature intended cow's milk to be consumed by calves. And while calves even outgrow drinking milk, us humans seem to happily indulge in it well into our adulthood. In fact, our ancestors never retained the ability to metabolize milk sugar called lactose as adults. In other words, they were all lactose intolerant. Somewhere along the way, one ancestor about 10,000 years ago was able to digest milk sugar, and this gave rise to our ability to drink milk throughout our lives. So, if milk was such an important part of our human history, then why the sudden change of heart? Well, as human population exploded, small-scale farming that we once had has now given rise to industrialized factory farming. We've started to raise our cows in overcrowded, deplorable, and sometimes inhumane conditions, and fed large amounts of antibiotics and hormones, which have led to a lot of health concerns. And, ironically, because we seem to dislike the dairy industry for the way they raise farm animals, we ran into the arms of the processed food industry to give us a solution. They in turn were only delighted to serve us up some nicely processed plant milk substitutes that we have now embraced as health foods. So today, I'm going to talk about the truth about 4 of the most common plant milks in use. The first milk I'm going to talk about is soy milk. Soy milk is the original plant milk. It was introduced into the US market in the 1980s, and before this it was actually widely used in Asia for thousands of years. Soy milk is not really a nut milk because it's made from the soybean, which is a bean or a legume. Soybeans are soaked, pressed, and filtered to make the cloudy soy milk suspension that mimics the consistency of regular milk. Soy milk contains a very high complement of high-quality plant-based protein, has more fiber than regular milk, and has quite a plethora of natural vitamins and minerals, including vitamin A and D. So the main criticism leveled against soy products has to do with a plant-based sterol that soy contains, specifically known as phytoestrogens. As you might have guessed, phytoestrogens are plant-based estrogens, and everyone knows that estrogen is the female sex hormone. So there's been this long-standing idea that drinking soy milk will give you a steady dose of female sex hormones. Not something any guy wants to hear. But this is a total myth. If this were the case, then we would have no men left in East Asian cultures that consume high levels of soy. And moreover, there is repeatable, solid scientific data completely debunking this myth. For example, here is a study that was published in 2010. This study is a meta-analysis or a roundup of all the other clinical trials looking at this notion of soy milk causing changes in sex hormones in men. Despite individual studies showing one result or another, the sum of all the studies convincingly did not show any evidence in support of this quite ridiculous idea. So if you don't believe this data and are still worried about where your virility is going to go, where does that leave you? That's where almond milk came in. Almond milk should be literally ground up almonds and water. That's it. In fact, if you make your own almond milk, that's what you do. You take 25% almonds, 75% water, mix it together, put it in a blender, and filter it through a cheesecloth. But find me a single brand of almond milk where the only two ingredients are those two. You can't. Why? Because the truth is, commercial almond milk is heavily processed. In fact, a recent study from the UK and a lawsuit that followed showed that most of the commercial brands of almond milk have only about 2% almonds in their milk. The rest of the milky texture comes from the addition of preservatives and thickening agents and stabilizers like carrageenan, locust bean gum, guar gum, sunflower lecithin, and so forth. You don't believe me? Walk right up to your refrigerator, pull that carton of almond milk, and take a look at that ingredient list yourself. The problem is that adding more almonds would take the manufacturing process a lot more money, and it would also probably make the resulting almond milk a lot less desirable. So, is almond milk not good for you? Well, the answer is it depends. A glass of almond milk probably contains no more than a few almonds, so it's actually quite low in both macronutrients and micronutrients. It's low in protein, low in fats, and literally contains no calcium and not a whole lot of vitamin D. Most commercial brands have been fortified with these vitamins, so what you're really paying for is vitamin fortified water with a hint of almonds. Just remember, I'm never a fan of anything processed, so while almond milk is probably an okay substitute if you're trying to lose weight, please don't delude yourself into thinking that it's some superfood or miraculous health food, because it's not. The only way you can guarantee that is by making the almond milk yourself. Now, coconut milk has a slightly different nutritional profile than almond milk. Coconut milk was used for thousands of years by many Asian cultures for their cooking. Coconut milk is made by grinding and filtering the fleshy part of the mature coconut. It's a true nut milk, and like all nuts, it has a high content of fat. Pure coconut milk can have as much as 30 grams of fat per cup. And even the most watered down processed commercial coconut milk still has about 4 to 5 grams of fat. Most of the fats in coconut milk is a combination of saturated and monounsaturated fats. I know that most of us are primed into completely shunning anything with the word saturated fats in it. But as a cardiologist, I'm telling you that that is completely wrong. And this is where I probably diverge from the expert opinion of the American Heart Association. In my research, I have not found any credible evidence that coconut milk is bad for your health. In fact, I think coconut milk can be a part of a healthy plant-based diet. Yes, it does contain saturated fats, but remember, all saturated fats are not created equal, and there's a big difference in the saturated fat contained in coconut milk and those found in animal products like beef tallow, for example. So if you don't mind the fat and like the taste of coconut and want a nutrient-rich cow's milk substitute with a similar fat content, you should look at coconut milk. Lastly, there is rice milk. Rice milk is a more recent addition to our repertoire, made from soaked milled rice and water. Unlike coconut milk, it's very low in fats, and also unlike soy milk, it's also very low in protein. However, rice milk is quite rich in carbohydrates, so it's a great source of energy. It's also the least allergenic or hypoallergenic of all the milk substitutes, and a great product for people who are lactose intolerant or prone to food allergies. If you're a diabetic, however, and need to keep a close eye on your carbohydrate intake, I would steer away from rice milk. So let's put all of this into context. Right now, from the available evidence, I don't have any clear reason to suggest that people absolutely should not be drinking cow's milk. Is it pristinely healthy? Probably not. Is it rich in calories and macronutrients? Absolutely. So if you are not lactose intolerant and like the taste of regular milk, drink it in moderation, but drink the real thing. If you want to look at plant milks, the best way is to make your own. If you don't want to or don't have the time to do so, then sure, go ahead, buy some commercial plant milks. But try to find one which has the least number of stabilizers, preservatives, and thickening agents. If you're trying to limit calories and lose weight, your best bet is probably almond milk. It's the least calorie dense, and it's also the least nutritious. But who cares, you're trying to lose weight. If you're trying to bulk up in general and gain some weight, try something like coconut milk or soy milk. If you really want to beef up your muscle mass and you don't want to drink regular milk, soy milk is probably right up there because it contains the highest protein content of all plant milks. If you want a milk that tastes mild, is hypoallergenic, and gives you energy, rice milk is the way to go. Unless you're diabetic, of course, in which case I'd recommend sticking to soy milk, almond milk, or coconut milk. So I hope you enjoyed my roundup of the different types of plant milks and where I think each one fits. Remember, at the end of the day, all commercial plant milks are processed. So go with whichever milk you think tastes best and best suits your ultimate purpose. In any case, you really cannot go wrong with any one of them. That's all from me this week. Have a happy and healthy heart.